Hi, this is Jan with Jan's Jewelry Supplies. Welcome to another soldering video. Today we're going to be making this very large leaf brooch. To make this brooch, we're going to be using 15 18 by 9 Navettes, 23 15 by 7 Navettes, 6 15 by 5 Baguettes, and 6 28 SS Rhinestones, and all of these are going to be preset. We're also going to be using a swivel, which is also sometimes referred to as the joint, and the catch, which I've also heard referred to as the clasp, and a hat pin. I'm going to go ahead and start laying out the rhinestones. And I'm just laying this out in Play-Doh that I've already rolled out. And now that I have them all laid out, I am going to go ahead and begin soldering. And with the soldering, you want to try and solder in every place basically that the stones touch. You want to get this as solid as you can because it is a fairly large elongated piece. So the more places you can place solder, the more stable it's going to be. Now that I've finished soldering, I'm going to go ahead and attach the catch and swivel. And these swivels actually have a little nodule on the inside of them to catch the pin. And I just want to make sure this hat pin is going to be long enough to go across, and here's the 2 points where I plan on putting the catch and the swivel, and I need to cut the head off of this pin and I need to roll it. You're not going to find any pins that are this long for this purpose, so you have to make your own. And all you do is just cut it off and roll the end, and you want your pin to just barely extend from the catch, just a tiny bit outside the end of the catch. Okay, as you can see, all I did was make a little loop at the end. I'm just checking to make sure that the pin will actually go through the catch or clasp, and it slides on there just fine. So I have a vintage pin to show you here. This is the side with the swivel. The pin folds down and it fits inside the catch, and the catch, the opening of the catch will actually face down, and there's a little lever on there that just slides and closes around the pin. Just going to double check my positioning of where I want my swivel and my catch. And I believe this is a good spot, and probably right about here. And I'm just going to go ahead and lay down some solder. And this is the side where I'm going to put the swivel. And I want to lay down a good amount of solder so I get a good connection. And I am using 300 degree solder with the heat gun. I tried using the third hand to hold this in place, but they are so small, it's hard to use the third hand, so I'm going to attempt to hold this in place with my pliers. The problem with this is if your hands shake at all, or you move just the slightest amount, you're going to undo your work. Your solder won't adhere if you keep moving it. I'm just looking to see where the catch needs to go. And I'm having to move it over a little bit further than I had planned. So I'm just going to lay down a little bit of solder for the catch. I'm going to go ahead and put the coil pin in and just lay it in that little opening and squeeze the opening shut around the loop or the coil. And you want to do it tight enough that it stays in, but not so tight that it will no longer move. Having the pin set in place gives me a better idea of exactly the angle and the location of the catch, where it needs to be to work properly. And I've already laid down my solder. This little piece is a little bit larger than the joint, so I'm going to go ahead and use a third hand to hold it in place. And as I'm heating it up, I'm going to use the pliers to apply just a slight bit of pressure to make sure that the catch actually has good contact with the solder that I laid down. I've pulled the piece out of the Play-Doh and cleaned it up with a little soap and water. And as you can see, this pin is rather long and could be a little flimsy. It's probably easily bent. There is another option for a pin this long, and these are generally referred to as military clutches. You may also hear them referred to as tie-tack pins or a pin and clutch. You can take these and solder one at each end. And here we have the finished piece. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.